Welcome back. I'm Kristen Eargle of Small College Conversations. I'm joined by Cleive Adams, the Director of Athletics at Ferrum College. Cleive, thanks for taking time with us today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I was intrigued by your story. You have been a college football coach for years, so much experience there. So, what caught my eye is now you're the Director of Athletics. So, what were some of those big challenges that you saw from the transition there and how you handled that? Walk me through that.
Well, when you've coached football for half your life, 26 years as an assistant coach and then 10 as a head coach, obviously that's a big transition for anyone. I returned to Ferrum April of 2020 as the eighth head football coach in the history of the program. Ferrum is my alma mater, obviously, so it was very important for me to come back, and it was a blessing. But I had spent 6 years at Avery University from 2014 to 2020, turning that program around. And my wife and I and my coaching staff down there in Danville, Virginia, we turned it around and we had a really good thing going. And when Ferrum called, it was very difficult to say no. And then I've spent 4 years trying to rebuild our program. We have a storied football history at Ferrum, all the way back to our junior college days. And winning is an expectation here at Ferrum. And I've spent the last 4 years rebuilding the foundation of our program. And we last season we were not quite there, but I could see us turning the corner. And then all of a sudden, this situation presented itself to me, and I had to do some soul searching and talked it over with my wife and my family and prayed over it, and it just felt like that it was the right time. I still had a lot of coaching left in me, but I just because Ferrum is my alma mater, I felt like this was an opportunity for me to make a larger impact for all of our athletic teams, you know, by taking this on. And the way I put it, I don't take this the wrong way, I kind of fallen on the sword, if you will, just putting my desires as a coach aside and putting the institution in our athletic department in front of us. But the challenge was making the transition from being a peer with the rest of the coaches to being the actual supervisor and the director of athletics. And that spring semester was a little bit of a transitional period for us. And now we're off and running in the fall semester here now.
And I can identify that with as a coach's wife. How hard is it for coaches to say, okay, I'm switching into something else, and the impact becomes even greater in some extent. As an athletic director, you have many sports teams underneath you. Um, does it? How does you talked about that transition in the spring? But let's talk about right now when you have conversations that has to impact knowing you have been in that role for 2 decades or more. What is that like having those conversations with coaches? I mean, you truly understand their perspective.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you recognizing that. The what had to happen from the moment I stepped into the role is it's a trust factor. Is he going to really be focused on the entire athletic department and not just football? Because I've spent so many years in football, I actually played here, So it that perception is understandable and real, but I think over time I've proven myself that I am focused on Ferrum as a whole, the community, the athletic department, our relationships across campus. But I can put my coach's hat on and I could get down to the same level of understanding as my coaches. And I think they're starting to realize that and understand that I can switch gears, and I'm looking at it from the administrative scope and I'm looking at it from a coach's eye. And that's very important to be able to make those connections, and they see that I understand the big picture.
From your analysis, where do you see the challenges, but where do you also see the opportunities for Fair over the next few years?
Well, the challenges obviously are going to be changing divisions, moving from Division 3 to NCAA Division 2 with Conference Carolinas. Uh, that is a heavy lift, and we were we were granted the opportunity to be one of the first programs to go through the expedient uh, membership process. We traditionally it's a 3-year process. The NCAA passed the legislation to bump it from 3 to 2 years, and we were added to that process, which moved our application date from February 1st of 2025 to October 1st of 2024. So, needless to say, I hadn't had a summer. It's been
Fast paced.
it's been working with our consultant at Strategic Edge, who have been awesome. Nancy Mitchell and Scott Larson, they've been awesome guiding us through this process. But it is a very, very heavy lift in terms of understanding where we need to go. From a Division III standpoint, myself and all of our coaches, we understand the recruiting foundations of Division III. Now we have to start thinking about equivalencies. We have to think about scholarship, partial scholarship models, what that looks like. And it's not just an athletic focus. Part of us making this transition, and we made it clear, this is an institutional decision. This is not an athletic decision. And we feel like that it's the right move for Ferrum. Demographically, we're in a great place to be one of 5 Division II programs or institutions in the state of Virginia. We're strategically placed in the heart of Virginia, and we're excited about it. But obviously, just understanding the nuances of Division II is a little frightening for myself and some of our coaches. But we have a lot of resources, and we're all chipping in to understand what we need to do moving forward.
I have a lot of follow-up questions to that. That struck my eye there. So when you talk about this is an institutional decision, how much does that fall on you, fostering those relationships to build alignment with your president and to making this happen?
Well, I think when I moved into the director role, a lot of things were changing, and a lot of people are giving me credit. Cleive, you're doing some great things. Well, we have a dynamic president in Dr. Mirta Martin, and she is actively involved with everything that we're doing. In fact, the decision to go Division II was 100% hers. It wasn't mine. And to have a president who is on board 100%, an executive leadership team who's on board 100%, the board of trustees who are on board 100%, that just puts us in a place to move forward, understanding our challenges, but understanding that, hey, once we get on the other side of this, we're going to be better for it moving forward as an institution and an athletic department.
And how do you see it being a benefit to the campus overall to go from Division III to Division II?
Well, I believe when Strategic Edge, we started working with the consultant back before I even took the job. The funny story behind that was when I came in December 1st, Dr. Martin handed me this binder and said, okay, this is your homework over Christmas break. And I was in a panic all Christmas break because I thought that we were going to apply February 1st of 2024. And I picked up the phone and said, Dr. Martin, I don't know if I can do this. And she laughed at me and she was like, no, Cleive, it's 25. It's February 1st of 25. But from an institutional standpoint, when we look at the big picture, we look at the state of Virginia, okay? All right. Over the years, we have lost a foothold in the state of Virginia from a recruitment standpoint. We have some hotbeds in the Northern Virginia area, highly dense populations up there. We've kind of lost our way there. The Tidewater and Greater Richmond area, highly densely populated areas as well. And our significance in our home state. We have, in the last 5 or 6 years, have pushed south into North Carolina, South Carolina to chase and mine those areas to find talent. And now, as a Division II institution and athletic department, there's excitement around Ferrum again. And we're going to really push our home state. When you push your home state for athletes and you attracting athletes, you're going to attract an athlete's friend, and a friend of a friend. So for us, it's huge that we focus on the Commonwealth of Virginia and become significant in our home state again.
There's going to be definitely, as you already know, the need to generate more revenue. I know, as you're an alumni and you're already in the Hall of Fame. So when you walk in somewhere, I mean, you have some brand yourself going in there and talking to donors. So how have you been able to leverage that and to generate more revenue towards this mission?
Well, again, I think the excitement of making the transition, our alumni family, they expect success here. And obviously, this transition to Division II is a big step for the institution, the athletic department, and the Ferrum family. And when you're talking about the Ferrum family, you're talking about our alumni as well. They are they are on board 100%. We are working tirelessly, myself with our institutional development department, to make those connections, excuse me, with our alumni body to help them understand the direction that we're going, the challenges that we're facing, and how they can help move the needle as we move into Division II play in 2025. So I think it's rekindled a lot of excitement in and around our programs that we're going to benefit from with our donors and our alumni family, and obviously family and friends as well. And again, when we looked at the big picture about making this move, we wanted to breathe life into the athletic programs and the institution, and I think it's doing that. And we have some great momentum going right now.
And what's on your plate in terms of maybe some uh, priorities for investments in the department as you transition? What's top of list for you?
Right now, it's basically the investment in our programs in terms of budgetary bottom line, just making sure that we are able to do this the right way, and put our best foot forward for all of our coaches and our programs and more importantly our student athletes. Uh, that's the big move right now. We're looking from a strategic plan standpoint at major um, enhancements to our baseball facility. We brought in Eric Owens, who is a former major leaguer, alum here, played here. He's our head coach there in our baseball program, and rekindled a lot of excitement behind our baseball program. And we have several things we need to do within that facility. We're looking at adjustments and enhancements to our soccer facility, obviously our football facility, and one of the areas that I'm trying to focus on right now is um, our track and field program as well, and looking to create a buzz around our track and field program. We have a wonderful site uh, on the west portion of our campus that we already have the renderings in place for our track and field facility there, and I think it would be a huge benefit to our college to move forward with that. So, those are down the road type things that we're looking at, but more immediate um, priorities, if you will, is just making sure that we're putting our best foot forward in terms of making sure we're in line budgetary wise for all of our programs to compete in Conference Carolinas. From the travel is going to increase, and then obviously making sure that we're funded properly for our scholarships, moving forward, because that's a big piece of this as well.
Looking ahead, what are some of those big challenges that you anticipate facing, and kind of how are you going to prepare for some of that?
The biggest challenge right now for us is understanding the the compliance portion of Division II. I think Division II is the sweet spot right now in NCAA, because you're not giving the farm away, if you will, but you're able to provide skill merit dollars and awards to student athletes, which goes a long way for this generation of student athlete. And for us to understand the partial scholarship model, when you break it down, you need to understand your institution, you need to understand your institutional bottom line. All right. And I think what it's going to provide for us in my coaches is the ability to, one, in the Division III world, and you're trying to recruit, and you're trying to create situations where you're creating a value for a family and a student athlete to get them to come to your school, but you don't have that control in Division III. because it's all based on the financial aid department. Now we have what I like to say from a coach's hat, we have the chalk. All right. We have the ability to say, okay, I need that individual on my roster. But by doing so and investing in that individual, you have to look at the institutional bottom line. So it puts a little bit more skin in the game for the coaches to understand, one, their needs, and also the institutional bottom line. So understanding that formula and how it fits into Ferrum is going to be a huge, huge opportunity and challenge for us as we move into 2025.
And some of your coaches, I'm sure they've also coached at Division II level. That people kind of go back and forth. I mean, what about yours right now?
We don't have as many as you would think. We have some. Our head football coach spent half of his life in Division I. He was a roommate of mine here at Ferrum and played together. I actually played together in high school and in college, but he spent half of his life in Division I, so he understands the scholarship level from the highest level. And then we probably have on staff, I'd say 15% that have that experience. So the majority of my staff, we're learning this together.
Yeah. And then just putting kind of educational things together for them as well. I'm sure.
Yeah, right. I was blessed enough. I hired my deputy athletic director for compliance, Miss Alexis Anderson. She came over from a Division II institution. And when we were going through the feasibility study with our consultant, one thing that the consultant said, and every Division II AD that I talked to during the early stages of this process, is that that's the best investment you can make in this process is get the right compliance officer. And we have a wonderful addition to our athletic family here with Miss Anderson. And we actually started last week our Division II compliance education meetings with our coaches. And we'll do the same thing with the other stakeholders on campus as well. So everyone kind of walks through this process, understanding how we're changing gears and moving into, the Ferrum of the future, if you will.
And you talked about when you were handed the reins. I mean, you've been hitting the ground running for months now. What's next for you in the next couple of months? You talked about a lot of projects that are going on, but what's on your plate in the immediate?
Well, then the main priority right now is application is due October 1st. So we are working tirelessly, myself and Alexis and my senior administrative team, as we are putting the finishing touches on our application so we can upload it into the NCAA portal, the NCAA hub on October 1st. And everything right now is geared toward the application day. Obviously, we're in the fall season as well. So that's going on. And one of the things that I've said to my student athletes, because this is a huge step for Ferrum, but I don't want to lose sight of the main thing. We're still in the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. We're still a Division III program. So one of my battle cries with my department and my student athletes is on our way out. What are we going to do on our way out? How are we going to compete on our way out? And I don't want them to think that I'm focused on everything else Division II and not worried about our ability to compete and play at a high level this 2024-25 season. So juggling those two is very difficult. And also juggling the information that's coming in from the ODAC and information that's coming in from Conference Carolinas. So, I mean, it's just a lot of moving parts right now.
And your wife and kids thought being a coach's wife and family was a lot, right?
100%.
That's right. Thank you so much, and best of luck, and continue to cheer for you guys as you move through this process.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me.